Hello listeners, and welcome to another week on Chasm Converses. It's episode number 50. Oh boy, what a journey we are having. And to celebrate this milestone with me, I have Stacey Ann, joining me from Perth. She graduated from WAAPA in the hopes of fulfilling her desire to become a musician. And since then, she's released songs, including her most recent one, Riptide, that you're hearing right now. And as well as that, she has her first EP on the way, A Change in the Wind, that is set for release on March 14th. She tells us all about it, and there's also some stories from London and travelling around Western Australia. So join us, and let's get conversing. Chasm Converses. Stacey Ann, welcome to Chasm Converses.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's actually a very special episode today because I just realised it's my 50th episode today, and you get to be my guest for my 50th episode.
Oh, congratulations. Oh, I'm so honoured. That's so nice.
Yeah, it's insane. I didn't even really pick up on it until maybe a couple of days ago, and I was like, oh, wow, the way this is going.
Wow,
we're going for number 50, but hell yeah. We're making waves. But either way, thank you so much for joining me today. Whereabouts are you joining me from?
So I'm based in Bulu, in Perth, in the Fremantle area. Ooh. So yeah, just right by the beach, kind of, which is nice. It's very hot today.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
Yes, no, that's the exact same over here. Really? I think it's mid-30s over here, so it's a bit drastic, but as it goes. That's so cool. I don't know Perth very, very well. I haven't been there yet. I do hope to go there at some point. But that's really cool. Do you enjoy living there?
I love it. I haven't really been over east very much. I've visited Sydney and Melbourne a little bit. But yeah, it definitely, every time I travel somewhere else, I always miss home because there's just so much here that you don't realize is good until you go somewhere else, I guess. Because I went to last year, or not last year, the year before, for 2 months.
Oh, no way.
It was amazing. But I was like, wow, I really miss seeing nature and beaches and stuff like that. So yeah, it really makes you realize what you have when you kind of go somewhere else. So I definitely enjoy it. It's really nice.
Yeah. I went to London. I was in London for 10 months. So
wow. Yeah, it's a bit of a concrete jungle, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy. I remember the first time when I got out, so obviously you go and see the sights and the Buckingham Palace and all that sort of stuff, and you get out near Green Park and you just go for a bit of a walk and the Savoy's near there and all these massive buildings and you're just wow, I can't see the sky.
Literally, I know, it's wild. And the heat there is different because I went during July, so it was very hot. And I'm 40 degrees is fine in Perth, whatever, but there 40 degrees is something else. It's so humid. And it's not a city that's built for heat either. So it's no air cons or anything.
So, no, so I guess you would have been there when they actually had their 40-degree heat.
Yeah, I arrived the day they were.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love this. This is great. Because obviously last year when I was there, it didn't get to 40 degrees, but even when it dwindled around the 25, 30 mark, it was uncomfortable enough as it is. Because obviously London's so big and it's on that climate spot where it's really kind of overcast and cloudy and cold and rainy. Yeah. So the infrastructure is just all built to sustain heat to keep everyone warm.
Absolutely.
And then they get a 35-degree day. And they're just I guess just don't go inside.
Yeah, and the tube stations are ridiculous. It's like a bloody sauna in there. It's crazy. But I actually arrived and I was listening to the radio and they were stay in your houses, no one go to work. This is a crisis. Yeah. And I was you guys need to calm down. And then after being there for a week, I was oh shit, yeah, this is bad.
Yeah, that's that was the real bad time over there because it's never been, I don't think it's ever been to 40 degrees there for, I don't know if it ever has or nowhere near recently has it been that hot.
Global warming.
But that would have been insane. Oh yeah. How did you stay cold? How did you not just, was it the Australianness? Living in the heat for so long? Is that why you were able to survive?
Yeah, I think I was actually just a bit I'm on Aussie, this is fine. I'll be all right. But everyone else around me was this is fucked. And I was staying in a room that had one of those shutter windows. So you have to open it from the top and the bottom so the heat can go out and then like escape.
Yeah.
Old
It can
fashioned. It's so
circulate.
funny. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I was there for the first time in 2018, and I was going on a trip, and I stayed in an apartment, and it was around summertime as well, still July-ish or whatever. And it was like, I don't know, I was on like the third floor or something, and it had the same sort of idea with like the same windows and shit.
Yeah.
But the thing was, there was so many cars on the main
Oh,
road, and it was
fuck.
so hot. And I was just like, all right, either I sacrifice like the heat for the noise or the noise for the heat. Like,
Yeah,
there's
that's
no middle ground. I can't win.
yeah.
So I didn't sleep that night, and
So overpopulated, and it's like I was staying in Putney, so apparently it's like the most polluted
Oh,
city
no
in
way.
London. Yeah, and I was like, shit, what have
Yeah.
I done? But yeah, and
That's so
apparently
crazy.
I
Yeah.
noticed as well, at Macca's they don't serve like frozen Cokes because it's like obviously mostly
No.
raining most of the year. And I was like, I want a frozen Coke, guys. It's so hot, and they just don't.
Yeah.
It's so whack.
It's just no point. They always just like, they love their like real hot coffees and that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's like there's not a lot of like slushies and like frozen Cokes over there. I love that you were in Putney because I was literally in Sheen, which is near Richmond, which is like the bus goes. I was working Clapham Junction. The bus goes
Richmond.
past Putney all the way there.
That's so funny. I used to catch the bus past it. That's so cute. Love it.
Yeah, the old 337.
Yeah, I do not remember the numbers, but yes. Props to you.
Oh man. Oh, I mean, as much as I love this London tangent, I'll stay on it for one more thing because there was another thing I just remembered. Like, obviously, because you would have caught buses the same as I did. Did you have the issue where the bus just decides not to go to where it's supposed to go, and the driver just decides to be like, "Yeah, this bus has now changed, and it'll be getting off at this stop now." And you're just like, "Oh
Literally.
shit!"
I was just following this like transport app because I was like, I had no idea what the fuck I was most of the time. So I would just like put it in, and it would just tell me like which bus I need to get on, and then sometimes it would just change routes, and I was like, the fuck? Yeah, very odd.
Yeah. Google Maps saved my life over there for sure, but it's just like it was the best thing. There was a part of me that wanted to just become like a stand-up comic, and just be like, man, buses over here, dude. Like you just can't. They can just change on you whenever they want to. You're like, well, I just don't want to go there anymore. We're gonna go here now. It's like, oh great, no worries.
Decide to change it up. Just have an adventure. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. That's what someone told me once. It's like when you get on a London bus, make sure you know where you're going. Otherwise, they'll just take you anywhere.
Yeah.
You'll just be gone, and
like, you just won't know where you are. I need to go to work.
Yeah, I know. I work in like bloody Kingston. Oh,
hilarious.
Anyway, what a fantastic tangent that was. I enjoyed that so much. I'd love to start talking to you about your music and all that kind of stuff. Because obviously you had a new single come out just recently called Ripples. And that was like coming out the other day as well, which is fantastic. So very nice and new and fresh.
Yeah.
I'd love to know how you kind of got your start in music and what made you want to become a singer-songwriter.
Okay. Well, I guess I really enjoyed music in high school and kind of was in choirs and like singing groups and stuff. And then I got a vocal scholarship in high school for the rest of like my high school career, obviously. And it was kind of a turning point to like, I guess like an introduction into music. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And then I guess when it came to it in year 12 and you start having to think about where you're going to uni and things like that, I was like, well, maybe I'll just try out for WAAPA and see what happens. Because at that point I was like playing piano a little bit and writing some songs just because I was interested in it. And I was like, let's just see what's available at WAAPA. And I found this music arts course, which is like a singer-songwriter of course, and looked into it a bit more.
Incredible.
Open day. Yeah, it was really like a cool concept. And yeah, I went to the open day and I was like, this is it. I'm going to audition. And then, got in first try, which was really awesome.
Oh, wow.
I was expecting to have to like, work up to it for years after uni, after high school. And then, really luckily got in straight away. So I was there for 5 years and I ended up doing the Bachelor. So that was kind of like a really awesome introduction into music, and I met some amazing people and learned some really cool things. But I think like the biggest thing for me that I took away from WAAPA was definitely the networking, and the people you meet there, you just like know for life, and they're just like your contacts in the industry basically for the whole Perth music scene and even over east. So I guess it was like the biggest learning curve and introduction into the music scene, because I didn't really know there was a music scene until I'd kind of gone to WAAPA and was like, oh wow, there's all these pubs that you can play at. I didn't even realize like
there's these people doing all this cool stuff like back and forth. I love that. I quite literally recently had someone on my podcast, Lucinda Poi, who quite literally is based in Perth right now, who's at WAAPA
Oh,
doing like
cool.
pretty much the exact same courses that you're doing,
That's so
going through that
cool.
same kind of transition.
No way.
That's awesome,
That's
right?
so lovely.
Yeah, I was just listening to that, being like, man, this is just like incredible. This is almost like I guess her, but like in the future. She like
Yeah.
gives you kids on with what she's doing.
Past
And I
me.
love that you're like the next. Yeah, literally, absolutely. You guys should talk.
We
Anyway,
should.
yeah, absolutely. But no, that's fantastic that you were able to do all that, and you went through the 5 years and all the rest of them came out the other end, and that's so fascinating though, because yeah, sometimes you don't really know like if there's scenes in different spots and all the rest of it. Even like when I started off doing music in Adelaide, like I didn't know much about the local scene, or even if there was one, until you kind of start seeing some bands playing pubs, and you kind of just start to be like, oh, okay, so I guess that venue has bands, and I guess that venue also has bands, and then you kind of start to pick and choose as you kind of go along. Did you like find yourself, I guess, like performing in the local scene pretty early on after you got through all those degrees?
Well, yeah, I was really lucky that my course was quite close-knit. So it was kind of like you were in this year group and you went through the whole course with that same year group. So you kind of got like this beautiful little music family. And I met some people that we kind of started a band with, but it was my music. So it was called Stacey Ann. And they just started playing gigs with me at like Mojo's in Fremantle and like open mic nights and silly things like that. And that's kind of how I started gigging, because I just had these awesome friends that wanted to be in a band with me. And took it all through my uni degree, and up until like my final graduation recital, I was still gigging. And then, the lineup has changed a lot over the years, because some people would like find out they're too busy or like join different bands and things like that. But it's definitely like evolved in very different ways depending on who you have in the band, which is also like a really lovely thing, because obviously each person's going to bring something different. And that's kind of what I like about it. I never like write parts and have to get a player that hasn't written that part to play it. I kind of just get everyone to feel the song differently, and if they want to change it up, that's so fine. Obviously, if it's like a song, then it's a little bit different. But if I'm just like gigging and people don't really know the music, then I'm like, yeah, just feel it, just whatever. So yeah, it's been the networking part was awesome.
That's fascinating. I'd love to ask you, especially when it comes to study, how long did you spend, like, if you can remember, like how many years did you spend studying altogether? Like, are you still studying now, or have you like completely finished studying?
Yeah, so the 5 years was just the degree, and now I'm just graduated and out in the world. So the first 2 years was diploma. So when I actually started WAAPA, they didn't have a bachelor like degree in that course. It was just a diploma. So I started as the dip, and then I decided to stay for the advanced dip. So that was 2 years. And then, as I was in the dips, they came out with the degree, and I decided to stay on and do the degree. So it was 5 total. Yeah.
Wow, brilliant. Yeah, that's like, it's so cool, because I mean, like, you know, there's so many people who study like just obviously all sorts of things, like, you know, music and all sorts of spots, and like university and taste and all that sort of stuff. And it really just goes to show just how much work some people put in to just be able to know their craft so well over a number of years, to then be able to get like all the information and all the, you know, all the things they need to then go out into the world and really try and put it into fruition, put it into order. And that's so great. I love the fact that you were able to do that. And like, you know, it's even doing it with so many people around you as well that obviously have very similar degrees, or even similar, like, you know, experience in that sort of manner as well. That's so fascinating. I love that.
I was really, really lucky to have that opportunity. It was such an interesting course though, because it was still really new when I had started. So they were still kind of like guinea pigging us a little. Which was interesting. But like, it was weird, because like not many people would choose to like keep going. So when I got into the bachelor, there was probably about 8 people. And then by the end, I was the only one left in my course that graduated.
Oh, really?
So
gee whiz.
So it was like you
stuck it through.
Yeah. I was like, am I an idiot for sticking around? Like, has everyone just left because it's like the right thing to do? I know. But I'm glad I finished it. I just don't really like doing things in halves. I just was like, I've been here for 5 years. I'm going to finish it now, you know. But it's like, it was so strange coming in and having like a full like year group of people of like 24, and then it just dwindled down over the years to like 3 or 4, and then me at the end. So yeah, it was very interesting to like go from having a massive cohort and like all these people you can kind of palm ideas off and things like that. Yeah, it became quite a different dynamic towards the end. And I think because I was straight out of high school, I wasn't like, I didn't appreciate it enough while I was there. I feel like there were definitely people around me that were a bit older that kind of took it by the horns and just like did everything they could with it. But I think when you're a bit younger, you're kind of just like, oh, it's just school, you know, like I just need a pass.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely like looking back on it now, I'm like, I definitely could have done a lot more with the information I was being given, but it was also quite a weird course in that like it wasn't fully developed yet. So it's funny because I can't actually remember the things I learned, but then you like go about life and you're like, oh yeah, like that's information that is useful now. Like,
right. Yeah. It's sort of just like, it clicks the button at the very back of the brain. You're like, oh, right, now I can sort of use it. Yeah,
totally.
absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I love that. That's so cool, man. And then, I mean, and obviously, you know, going into like, you know, the back into the music scene stuff, I'd love to know, like, just from your own opinion, like, how is like the sort of the Perth music scene? Is there plenty of bands like gigging and that kind of stuff, like all over the place? Are there plenty of venues to go and to like, you know, perform in front of people?
Yeah. One thing about the Perth scene that I think is quite different to over East is that it's very like tightly knit, and like while there are lots of bands, I feel like everyone knows of everyone, and like a lot of different players are in lots of different bands. So like you'll see that drummer and you'll be like, oh, he also plays for this band, or this guitar, like she also plays in this one, and it's like everyone's kind of knows of each other, which is really beautiful, and it creates like this really wholesome community, which I feel very lucky to be a part of. But I guess recently it's been a lot harder for artists in Perth and probably over East too, with venues and stuff having to close down.
Yeah.
Sure. I really am struggling to like book gigs because they're either booked up so far in advance or there's just like no space for you because there's like 3 venues that are of like a medium size to actually play, you know. So that's changed a lot and it's quite tricky.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm like based in Adelaide, so we're very similar in that respect, where it's like, you know, after a while, like especially in the different scenes, even like through different genres, you sort of start to meet different people, but then everyone's sort of like, you know, oh yeah, he's in this band and she does this band, like, oh yeah, and then you sort of start to really like, you know, sort of see everyone's all together, still trying to do the same kind of thing, and you know, just perform and whatever. But yeah, it's the same with the venues over here as well. I'm in like a heavy band, so like
nice.
The venues are very like kind of few and far between, the ones that you can kind of go to.
I can literally think of only like 2 heavy kind of venues in Perth, and I can only imagine how that would be.
There's probably about off the top of my brain, maybe like 3 or maybe 4 over here now, which isn't like a lot, especially when you've got like there's heaps of them over there, heaps of bands over here that you know are pulling for gigs and trying to play here and there and wherever. And yeah, it's just a very small space, which is a bit sad, but there's plenty of people trying to like, you know, be better with like the promotion of gigs and trying to get bigger bills with more bands to be on so they can perform for other people.
Exactly.
But it's great that like the scenes are very similar, like both scenes are very similar in that sort of same respect. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, no, it's cool that like, you know, you guys have all those sort of those like really close knit groups all together, because that's fun. Even like the other night, I played a gig like the other night, and it was with a bunch of guys that I've been in the scene with for years, and I haven't seen them for a while. But you know, it basically just felt like a massive catch up rather than like a show at all.
Yeah, it's so nice when you get to play with your friends as well. Like it's such a interesting thing to be a part of, and like when you're not really in the scene, like no one understands like what you do as a musician, and you're kind of just like, I just hang out with my friends and I get to play these cool gigs, and it's like really special. And I think it's like very rare to like find something like that, you know, with your friends especially. But yeah, I feel like the Adelaide scene was so similar. That's so nice to hear. I've only heard like Sydney and Melbourne are very competitive because it's quite oversaturated. But I haven't.
Yes. I think there's quite a few over there. Yeah, I think like there's quite a few bands and that sort of stuff trying to like sort of get their ways and play for the venues and that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's great just to have people wanting to go out there and just play music for people and just become creative and write songs as it is. And circling back, you know, you've done that a lot yourself. Obviously, you've got like quite a few like tracks now and songs to your name. I've actually just realized something quite recently when I was looking through your discography, is that you've sort of like released a single every year for like the last 3 years. That's quite cool.
it was
That's
like
really,
going on a
I like
cool,
that.
like
It's a good process.
yeah, it was doing well, and then COVID happened, and I was like, I'm not fucking releasing one this year.
Yeah.
So I kind of broke the track record there, but it's okay. We're doing all right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I love it. Are all of your songs done by like this? Do you like record with obviously the same people, and do you have the same kind of sound engineer that you record your vocals with and that sort of thing? Or do you sort of go through different people for every single track? What's your sort of process in that?
Yeah. Well, with my first single, I actually had this lecturer at WAAPA who had a studio that was like quite well known in Perth. So I did my first single through him, and it was amazing. And then I just decided to kind of change it up and like try out different sound engineers that I'd heard were good through the scene. Yeah, so I guess up until now, I've kind of used a different one for every single. And then I found this this guy who actually did like mixing for some gigs that I've played, and didn't realize he had like a little like home studio, and he just really dug my music and was like super keen to produce some stuff for me. And yeah, we kind of just had a chat, and I was like, I really want to do an EP, but like I haven't really done it yet because it's financially like really hard. And he like gave me a quote, and I was like, this is so doable. And he like kind of understood my vision. And I was like, yeah, like I really want to work with him. And like, I guess with like recording before, I've really struggled to find someone that cares as much about my music as I have. Because like, yeah, you can go into the studio and you can just pay someone to do their job, but it really makes a difference when you like get along with them and they also like understand and care about your music. And I really struggled with that up until now. So I feel really lucky that I found that. Because yeah, this EP has been like one of my favorite projects so far. So yeah, I released the last two singles I've released from the EP, and then the EP is coming out in March.
Awesome.
So yeah,
that's right.
Really looking forward to it.
And it's called A Change in the Wind, right?
Yes, it is.
Hell yeah. It's a great name. It's a really good name.
I was really struggling.
I love that.
It's so hard to come up with names, but I was like, oh man, like
it is.
I really have no idea. I was like tossing and turning for months, and then I just had to pick one because I had to like put it up for distribution. And I was like, let's like look through my lyrics and see what kind of works. Because I was trying to kind of come up with something that encapsulated kind of coming of age and like self-discovery. And then one of my lyrics in one of the singles is like a change in the wind. And I was like, that kind of works really well. So I went with that.
Sweet. Is there a song on there that is called A Change of the Wind, or is that just like, because I like sometimes with like albums and music releases and that sort of stuff, I do kind of like it when like the EP, like the title track of the EP isn't actually like a song, but like that's like, as you say, that phrase is like mentioned in another song. And it's kind of like, I like that sort of transition in it.
Yeah. So the song that's from is called April. So it's just like,
oh right, that is from April. Sweet.
Yeah. So I was thinking of calling it Ripples because that was quite like that kind of understood the meaning of it. But I was like, oh, I think I just want to like have it as its own entity. So yeah.
That's so cool. And did you like sort of record these like sort of all kind of very similar time, like all sort of together, or were they sort of a bit more sort of spaced away? Did you, I guess like, you know, obviously you had such a fun time with the process and doing the whole thing. I mean, was there a song that you enjoyed doing more than any other ones, or were they all just kind of like, you know, really joyful to kind of do?
Yeah, so what we did is we basically hired this studio room to do the drum tracking for because it just sounded better than the sound engineer's house. So we paid for a studio to do the drum tracking, and we just did like dummy tracks for everything, and then he recorded over those, and then into his home studio and basically just layered everything else over the top. So we did them all at the same time, which I think was also a good idea just because they're like a single project. So it's good if they're consistent. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say what my favorite was. It's probably hard because like the two singles have trumpet on them, and that was really fun to record.
Yes, they do. That would have been awesome to do.
Yeah, it was really cool to like watch everyone like in their own element as well, because we did them individually. So it was really cool to like go in and just watch everyone kind of do their thing. But there's two songs on the EP that have cello in them as well, and just like watching the cellists like kind of just come up with these ideas and like feed my songs in this beautiful way. It was so cool because I've had cello in my debut single, which was called She, and had the same cellist as well with that.
Oh, the same one.
Yeah, same one, because
Beautiful.
I was like, I just love what they do. And yeah, it was really cool to like have them a part of it again. And yeah, it really just made it like the songs just sounded like so finished after that. So yeah, very much looking forward to sharing.
That's so brilliant. Yeah, I'm so excited to see it, to obviously have it come out and to listen to all the tracks that are on it as well. Like, yeah, it seems like you put in so much work and effort into doing them all as well. Have you got any like, are you much into like making like music videos and that sort of stuff for the songs as well? I know you got one for She, because I did watch that one, which was really, really good.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. Yeah, so I love doing music videos, but they're very expensive. So it's a bit hard to kind of do one for every song. Yeah. And it's also hard because you don't really know if people watch them as much as they used to. Like, you know, like Rage used to be such a huge thing, and like putting things.
Oh, Rage is a massive thing.
I know,
yeah.
It's still around, but like who puts on their TV just to watch music videos nowadays, you know? But yeah, I've got one coming out for Ripples, because I thought I would definitely need to do one for the whole EP. So yeah, record one for Ripples, and that's coming out in like 2 weeks' time. So that's
oh shit, nice.
Yeah, they're just so fun to film as well. It's such like a lot of work, but like so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like, I think they're still a very pivotal part in the fact that, I mean, obviously they're very pricey and all that kind of stuff, as you would expect, but it's really great for the artist to be able to get like a creative vision across for what the song is that they've just done. And then for people to be able to kind of see that is like, it just adds like another layer to that song, which is awesome. And also for like branding, it's really just, I think it's really good for branding as well, because then, like, you know, if people sort of search for the songs, or if you're on like a bill or something like that, or like even if you're like a big gig or whatever it is, and people are searching for your music, they see obviously like all your Spotify and whatever. But then, you know, if they see a video, then they can be like, oh, they can put like a name to a face and sort of have like a connection with someone before they've actually had the connection in real life.
Yeah, definitely. And I've even noticed that with releasing the single, because I use like a little sneak peek of the music video as the canvas on Spotify. And people have just been like commenting on like how cool the visual looks. And I'm like, yeah, this is cool. Like the fact that you kind of have something to look at that relates to the song, I think is like helpful for people to kind of experience it in like a whole form. So yeah, I'm excited to release it. It'll be fun.
That'd be awesome. I'm really interested to know, like, who your sort of, I guess, your influences are behind, like, the songs that you have written so far, because they all have such a, just such a lovely sort of homely feeling, very wholesome feeling, and like also just very vibey as well. And I'm really curious to know, like, who are the influences that you have that you really kind of like, you know, try and I guess like embody when you are writing your music.
Yeah. Well, I guess when I first started writing music, I was listening to a lot of Florence and the Machine, and I've always been inspired by her and just like her strength and like power as an artist as well and on stage. Similar to like Stevie Nicks from Fleetwood Mac as well. I very much like listen to a lot of Fleetwood Mac and love them to bits. So they kind of influenced my first steps as a songwriter and like lyricism and things like that. But I guess like now I'm kind of leaning more into the like poppier sort of rocky, like middle kids vibes. I haven't released many things like from that influence, because all of these songs I'm releasing are quite like old songs. Yeah, I feel like Carole King has been a good influence as well, and like Meg Mac and Maggie Rogers and people like that. Just like for multiple reasons. But very inspired by like those sort of like poppier artists at the moment.
Wow, that's so cool. Like that sounds fantastic to me. It's so good you've got like just sort of so many different like influences from all over the place that you sort of stick all together into your own kind of thing. I mean, that's one of the best things when you are a musician, because like, you know, you're never like plagiarizing or stealing things. You're kind of just borrowing little bits that people have done, and so just kind of sticking them together in your own kind of way of trying to sort of figure out what you want and how you want to portray yourself out to
like that's
all the people.
Always changing as well. Like you're never going to know what your sound is. I feel like it just is relevant to who you are at the time, and like we're constantly changing as humans as well. So I guess it's just seeing the trajectory of your growth as a human being, which is really cool as well.
Absolutely. I agree with you completely.
Yeah.
Have you traveled or been able to tour anywhere else around Australia, or have you sort of been more so Perth based so far?
Yeah, unfortunately not. We've just been traveling down south in WA, But we haven't really done much touring, to be honest, because we try and just do like as many gigs as we can in the Perth area.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, like I definitely working towards that, because that's kind of the dream, to be honest, is like traveling with my music.
Yeah.
And just seeing the world with being able to share that with people. So definitely on the horizon, I hope. But yeah, we haven't done
Hell
yet.
Where would you like to go if you were to obviously tour your music? And this is like anywhere outside Australia, like wherever. Like, where would you like to go?
I think it would be cool to start off in the UK. I don't know why. I just feel like
Hell yeah.
after being in London, like I was going to a few gigs just to like suss the scene there. And it's like, I feel like once you find like the right places to go, because like obviously it's so like saturated there. But I think it would just be so cool to like even just honestly anywhere other than Australia would just be like so cool to like share my music. But like like the UK or London would be pretty cool. Even like Fringe or something, because I feel like Fringe is such like a hub. So maybe that's something I could look into. But yeah.
100%. I mean, London is like, it's awesome. Obviously, like, because you've got London, but then you've got like England itself as well. So like
Scotland and shit like that.
There's so many, you've got so many like little country spots as well that you can go to that've got like heaps of people in them, whatever, heaps of venues and stuff.
Definitely.
And London is like is wonderful. It's like the transport would be hard, I think.
Yeah.
Just to be able to get, because obviously you'd have to drive in London, which is going to be like I haven't even done that yet.
Shit show.
One day maybe. We'll see. We'll see if I'm brave enough one day to get a driver's license in London and drive a car. But like, but there's lots of like, but there's lots of venues and like lots of different like little spots around there that you get that bands go to and the bands play with and all that kind of stuff as well. But yeah, for me, like the transport was a massive thing, because I went to a few like heavy gigs and that kind of thing, and some of them like way off and wherever. And I was like, man, like where would you base yourself? You'd have to just because London's massive. You just have to like go somewhere and just put up with the fact that the gig is like, a 45-minute drive away, without traffic.
Yeah. I know. I hadn't really thought into that, but that's, it makes complete sense. I feel like it's weird in Australia as well, because I'm not sure about over east, but I know in Perth to kind of get anywhere else, it's like at least half an hour to an hour. And like, especially when you go down south, like going to Margaret River or Albany, like Albany is 5 hours away from Perth.
Wow.
So like
really?
when you do a
Jesus
south
Christ.
show, like you are traveling. Like my partner's in a band as well.
Yeah.
Just did like a down south show, and they were literally driving for 24 hours and they were only gone for 3 days.
Oh.
So like they did 3 shows and they were driving for 24 hours. And I was like, this is insane. Like, to kind of get anywhere outside of Perth, you are driving for a while. But it's cool that like
that's it.
Like Melbourne and Sydney are quite close, so like you can literally play like 2 cities in a weekend, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. It's still a hell of a drive, but like I mean, even like Adelaide to Perth, I think is a 24-hour drive. I think that's a full day.
Oh my god!
Get from here to you guys.
That's crazy.
And then from Adelaide to Melbourne is like 8 hours. And then from there to Sydney, I can't remember how long it is, but I think it's like another 8 or 9 or something like that. But like, to all of my international listeners or whoever sees this on TikTok or Instagram or wherever, and if you're a musician overseas, you guys got it easy, man.
Yeah.
You don't have to travel as far as we do.
Even in Perth, like to fly over east is like so expensive. It's like 600 or 700 Aussie dollars. And then like from Melbourne to Sydney, it's like $200. So like that's why
we got to put it in the yards.
Yeah, we have to really like make it worth it to go over east. That's why I haven't been there yet.
Pray people show up to your gig so you can make it home.
Exactly. Yeah, you're like, I need to eat tonight. Someone come buy a ticket.
This has been so awesome, Stacey. Honestly, it's been just an absolute joy to talk to you about all of your music and all this sort of stuff and all the London stuff. My goodness, brilliant. To all my listeners, please do check out Stacey and her new single Ripples, and obviously the EP that'll be coming out on March 14th, Changing the Wind. I wish you all the best in the rest of your musical journey, and I hope the best obviously for your music, and I hope that your launch for the EP and that kind of stuff goes well also.
So much. That's so lovely to meet you, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the episode this week. I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Stacey and myself. Go check out her newest single, Riptide, and chuck her a follow on the socials to keep up to date with everything that she's got going on, including the release of her new EP, A Change in the Wind, available March 14th. There are links in the description of this episode where you can find it all. As for myself, follow me on Instagram or YouTube at This Is Chasm, where you can find reels from this podcast and even some extended clips. And thank you so much for sticking around for my first 50 episodes. Here's to the next 50. And finally, please leave a rating and or review for the show wherever you listen to your podcasts. And I'll see you next week for a new episode with a new guest here on Chasm Converses.